Texans win it!
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't think.
That goal is history. A walk-off home run.
And it's going to be legendary.
James Pledger wraps your day with insight, opinion, plenty of sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge.
Good morning, or good evening. Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Thank you to all of you, however you may be listening, whether that's on 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com, or if you're on our YouTube page. If you're not, you should be at SA Sports Star on YouTube. You can like, subscribe, comment along with the show in what we like to call the bullpen. Fred Records, Jacob Eric already in the stream. And of course, if you care to, you can always call in. That is right. You can call in. We got the lines fixed. 210-656-ESPN, 210-656-3776. Right here. Be a part of the show. I like to be as interactive as possible with the people. And today, I've got a perfect thing for all of y'all listening. That's right. I have tickets to give away. We have tickets to something that is perfect for this show. It is an advanced screening out at the Casablanca Theaters for the new Disney Plus Star Wars, The Acolyte. It'll be on Monday, June 3rd at 7 o'clock. We'll be giving that away a little bit later in the show after we speak with AJ Hoffman of the Morning Huddle. Probably around 6:30, be looking for that giveaway. So if you want to go see an advanced screening of the new Star Wars flick on Disney Plus, The Acolyte, which looks sick, by the way, be sure to stay tuned and keep listening. Joe Ryan on his way to go see one of my favorite artists, Justin Timberlake, in concert tonight out at the Frostbank Center. Love to be out there tonight, but I'm here with you guys. So I appreciate all of y'all for rolling through. Chris on our YouTube chats asking me how I feel about the Nico deal and how does it affect the CD deal. Look, Nico's deal, 3 years, about $24 million a year, 72.5 up to 75 max value, 52 guaranteed. That's great money for the potential of a number one guy. He had one good season this past year, and it was his first year that he really stayed truly healthy. And he was going into a contract year, and the Texans managed to lock him up before he put together a second great season and really elevated his status. They got ahead of that deal. CD is already one of the top receivers in the league. I would put him in the top 5. I would consider him in the top 3 if we're being honest. He's fantastic. The Texans got the deal done early, and if he continues to ball out, he will be asking for a lot more money next time he comes to the negotiating table. But by not letting him have a second consecutive season like he just had, you managed to get him on a much more team-friendly deal. And that's the beauty of getting a deal done early. Something that, well, the Cowboys have not done to this point, as they're still waiting to get them done. Although CD is starting to take precedence, although those numbers have gone up. Now it looks like they're finally wanting to get in front of that Justin Jefferson deal. Also, the NBA. There was a game 4 last night, and instead of there being 2 sweeps in the conference finals, the Timberwolves man up and get the win as they beat the Mavericks in Dallas 105-100. Ant had 29 points, finished one shy of a triple-double. Cat had 25. Both came up with huge shots down the stretch. Luka, despite not playing well, did have a triple-double, but Dallas didn't shoot well. Minnesota held them to 42% shooting from the field. I look at the series at 3-1. All the games have been close. Minnesota broke through with this win. I thought coming into this series, Minnesota was the better team. Dallas has played like the better team, especially down the stretch late in these games, and they've had the closers in Luka and Kyrie. But you don't want to give teams life. Does Minnesota now have life? 656 ESPN 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. Look, it's never happened. Nobody's ever come back from 3-0 in the NBA in a conference final. We almost got it last year with Boston, and Tatum kind of sealed the Celtics' fate after they fell into an early hole. And that is the difficulty when playing from that 3-0 deficit, is you're afforded 0 bad shooting games, 0 chance at injuries that could affect the team. You have 0 margin for error in those types of series. But could it happen? Could Minnesota come back and make this a series, force a game 7, and potentially face the Celtics in the NBA Finals? Of the teams, I would say Minnesota's got a good shot at it. It's never been done. Well, a 16 had never beaten a 1 until about 5 to 7 years ago when Virginia fell to UMBC. Then it happened a couple of years later when Purdue lost. Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it can't. The situation, the circumstances have to be right, and it's even harder in a 7-game series. It is easy in a one-off like the NCAA tournament to have something of that sort of anomaly happen. But I look at what happened last year in the Eastern Conference, and but for an injury, Minnesota was on paper the better team coming into this series. Dallas had the 2 better players in Luka and Kyrie, but Ant was playing at a level that a lot of people were starting to compare him to Jordan. Karl Anthony Towns is a superstar, despite what some people may think of him. And if they play like they did last night, especially down the stretch, they can claw their way back into the series. And by clawing their way back into the series, they would also have home court in a game 7, which would help to tip the scales in their favor. The other thing they don't have going for them is Micah the new Drake in terms of jinxing teams? I know I saw him at a Phillies, a 76ers game. They're obviously out. I mean, Micah just throws jerseys on and goes to games and has a great time, a lot like Drake. But what's the success record of Micah with teams and his allegiance or aligning himself with them for those contests? Anthony Edwards made sure to tell Micah post-game, I saw you wearing my shoes. I'll bring you a pair when we come back.
You told somebody in the hallway you're seeing for game 6. Where does that confidence come from?
What am I supposed to say? I'm supposed to say we're gonna lose game 5. No, I'm not gonna never say that. Michael Parsons, he was rocking the AE1s, and I told him he wears size 14. I'll bring back some nice shoes for game 6. That's what I told him.
I love the confidence of Anthony Edwards. It is a difficult task, mainly because you've left yourself no room for error. Do I think that Minnesota will come back and win this series? No, I wouldn't bet on it at all. Can they overcome it? They're positioned well to in terms of their talent, the team it's been all year long. The likelihood, though, is razor thin for them just because of the margins of the corner that they painted themselves into. We'll get into this and more with AJ Hoffman of the Morning Huddle, as he's going to join me coming up next right here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's the Morning Huddle with AJ Hoffman and Rob Thompson.
Thursday on the Morning Huddle, are we at the end of the Western Conference Finals? We will get ready for the Mavericks Timberwolves.
And important discussions about airline etiquette. All that and more starts at 6, 94.1, the Morning Huddle.
It's the Morning Huddle with AJ Hoffman and Rob Thompson. Morning 6 to 10 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
The John Clay Wolf Show. Here's what's going on in the Wolf Pack.
These guys around the country made a fan page
Yes.
for us. So, Rico Suave, what is it that stimulated you about our program?
It's a love of the show, man.
What would you like to see us do more of since you're a P1 listener?
Girls on trampolines during the break there, pre-K.
Man. The John Clay Wolf Show.
Catch the to noon right here on San Antonio Sports Star.
Reason number 52 to choose Diamonds Direct over any other jeweler. Only Diamonds Direct gives you a 110% diamond upgrade guarantee. Let us explain. If you buy a diamond at Diamonds Direct today and decide in the future you want to upgrade to a larger diamond, Diamonds Direct will give you 110% of your original purchase price toward the new stone. For example, let's say you bought her a $5,000 diamond last year, but now she wants to upgrade to a $6,000 diamond. Diamonds Direct will give you $5,500 toward the new one. That's 10% more than you paid the first time. Guaranteed appreciation. Whether that first diamond was $3,000 or $30,000, you get 10% more. Who else does this? And unlike other stores who claim to offer diamond upgrades, at Diamonds Direct, there's no fine print and no minimum purchase requirement. It's 10% more, period. Come and discover real value and buy with confidence. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-5407. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-5407. That's 800-575-5407.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Two guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same two guys drove home. One guy wore a seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free Millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MBA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149.
Soak up the summer savings with Family Dollar. Whether you're shopping for everyday essentials, planning a trip, or relaxing at home, Family Dollar has amazing deals on the stuff you need this season. See how you can save today at Family Dollar, helping you do more.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-694-1010. That's 1-800-694-1010. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. 1-800-694-1010. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
It's Extra Innings with Pledger on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Back into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Don't forget, coming up after I talk with AJ Hoffman of the Morning Huddle, I've got some advanced screening passes for Monday to go watch the new Disney Plus Star Wars flick at the Casablanca Theater, The Acolyte. That's right. We're giving away advanced screening passes for Monday, June the 3rd at the Casablanca Theater for The Acolyte, the brand new Star Wars flick that's coming out. But first, we're going to talk with our friends from the Morning Huddle. That is right. AJ Hoffman back in the building. Well, not in the building, on the phone, but he is back on the radio with me, as y'all had a heck of a morning just keeping people informed about the boys in blue.
Yeah, a lot of wild stories around the country. And, of course, I'm always a big supporter of the local police department. But it's funny when officers from around the country have mishaps that would, of course, would never happen here in San Antonio. Like, cops keep locking themselves in the back seats with hot young ladies. It's and then having to call their cop buddies to let them out. And so it's always an adventure with that stuff. But yeah, I'm just always glad it's not our local guys making those kind of mistakes.
And I hear that story, and immediately in my head, I'm thinking about Super Troopers, the time that Mac locked himself in the back of his car accidentally, and then had to take the door off the hinges.
I don't think that's what they do in real life, but I guess that would have been the next option. Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have a friend that's willing to not sell you out.
Well, I don't think this cop had that either. So it's unfortunately for him.
Oh, the big story of the day has been the fact that the Minnesota Timberwolves found life in this series, stealing that game, an elimination game, handing Kyrie his first loss in a potential elimination game, as they get the 105-100 win. And what's been an extremely close series that a turnover, a missed shot here and there has really decided the game in the final seconds and could easily be 2-2 as it is 3-1 right now. And I start thinking about, 16 never beat a 1 seed until it finally happened. Nobody's ever come from a 3-0 series deficit. Last year they got close with the Tatum and the Heat, but Tatum rolls an ankle in that game 7. And that's kind of the issue, is you really afford yourself a razor thin margin for error when you put yourself in this kind of a hole.
Yeah, I don't know that it's realistic to start thinking about coming back from 3-0. My thought was this, and you're right, this has been a much closer series than the 3-1 suggests it's been. I think 8 points is all that's, in 4 games, 8 points is all that's separating these two teams. So clearly these two teams are pretty evenly matched, but so far the things have broken the way of the Mavericks. The funny thing about last night's game is it felt like that was a game that the Mavericks should have lost by a lot. Like Luka didn't play well, Kyrie didn't play well, PJ Washington didn't play well, and at the end of the day, they lost by 5 points. So it feels like, man, it took a really bad game from the top three guys, the three guys that have carried this Mavericks team. Not one of them played well, and they still only lost by 5 points. That's got to be worrisome if you're a Timberwolves fan. And I'm not a Timberwolves fan, but I've been saying, for a while now, they were my pick to win. I didn't take a lot of confidence from that game as someone who's been a supporter of the Timberwolves. That made me feel better about them. It just felt like, they're too close to get swept. The difference between the Mavericks and the Timberwolves is obviously just so different than the difference between the Celtics and the Pacers was. Like these two teams are actually both very close. It's just things haven't broken Minnesota's way. The fact that they did break their way once is not enough to convince me that they're gonna be able to win 3 straight. If they do, man, it's awesome. And I think we're gonna be discussing, is this Anthony Edwards being incredible superhero, or are we going to look at that and go, how did Luka blow a 3-0 lead, which may end up being the way that it's looked at in history's eyes is, man, Luka was up 3-0 and blew it. Could be like a devastating blow to his long-term legacy, or a great thing for Anthony Edwards. But I'm interested to see how much of a fight the Timberwolves can put up now that it's going back to their building. You said it could easily be 2-2. It probably should be 2-2, or it could easily be 3-1 Minnesota if they have their heads out of their what. But either way, like you said, I think it boils down to the margins for error now are just so small. It's hard to imagine them playing perfect ball for the next 3 games.
And one thing we didn't mention, no Derek Lively either.
Yeah, that's a big thing, and I'm not sure. They're calling it like a whiplash or something like that. To me, we got knee in the back of the head. In every other sport, we would just say that's a concussion. They don't want to call it a concussion because then it's going to put him into some kind of protocol that he might not be able to get out of quickly. But it's pretty obvious that he's important when it comes to defending Karl Anthony Towns. We've seen Karl Anthony Towns have 3 games where he looked dreadful in this series. And then he has a game where he's better. He shot better than the other 3 games combined in one game that Derek Lively wasn't playing. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think having him off the floor opened things up a little bit. They don't have the athletes to get out and cover Cat when he's not playing. So it's a big loss for Dallas. I don't know if it's a series-defining loss. You would hope not. He's probably like the 5th or 6th most important guy if you were ranking Mavericks in order of importance. But for that particular matchup, it seems like he played a pretty big role. So I'd expect him. I'd expect him to miss this game. But if the series ends up going back to Dallas at 3-2, my guess is that Derek Lively's on the floor.
AJ Hoffman of the Morning Huddle joining me here on Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM. This is a great thing for the Celtics in terms of just being able to sit and wait and watch people beat themselves up. But whomever would advance in this series, whether it is Dallas, which I think we all kind of expect, or if Minnesota made a miraculous run to meet the Celtics in the finals, where would you, subject to change, of course, as we sit, but where would you sit going into a finals match against whoever advances from the West and the Celtics? Where are your initial leans at?
My initial leans are with the Western Conference. I don't trust this Celtics team. They've, for lack of a better term, they kind of feel like losers to me. And we've seen the act with them, and now they're on their 3rd coach with this iteration of players. And this is probably the worst coach that they've had. Like they progressively get a worse and worse head coach in there, and the players are the same. And I'm just not convinced that they're ever going to get over that hump. They're sitting there waiting, which is great for them. But I think we knew all along that the Eastern Conference was the weaker conference. And the path could not have opened up wider for the Boston Celtics than it did. I mean, any team that would have presented any kind of problem for them was quickly out of the way. You know, Philly bowed out early. Philly was actually the favorites to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. They fall out early. Giannis not playing, gets Milwaukee rolled out quickly. The Knicks, they turn into a mash unit. And then even when you do face the Celtics in the conference finals, Tyrese Halliburton, either he's hurt or he knows he can't win, so he decides to sit out. Whatever the case is, Tyrese Halliburton's not playing a role, and the Celtics just roll in that series. I mean, the red carpet has really been rolled out for the Celtics team to get where they are. And would it shock me is, somehow in the next two games, Luka breaks his foot or something, and the Mavericks end up winning, and the Celtics have to play Dallas without Luka. Wouldn't shock me at all. Also, wouldn't shock me if they still found a way to lose that series. But I just don't trust this Celtics team. I don't feel like Jason Tatum is a dude. Like, I think Jason Tatum's a good basketball. But 3 or 4 years ago, the world thought that Jason Tatum was about to take a step and become one of the 5 best guys in the world. And he just hasn't done it. And, usually guys don't sit on the fence that long before becoming what they're going to become. And Jason Tatum strikes me as a guy who, when he loses games, it doesn't chew him up the way it chews up a Luka or an Anthony Edwards, certainly. And I want those guys that are dogs. And I just don't know that Jason Tatum is. Jason Tatum, he feels like a nice dog. He's like a golden retriever or something. You can pet him, and he's he's a good boy, and he's not going to tear up the house when you go to work, but he's also not going to, if things get nasty, he's not going to get his face in there and start chewing. And Anthony Edwards and even Luka and Kyrie to an extent feel like those are dogs. Like if you're in the muck, that's the kind of guys you want with you. And that's the guys that I lean to as well. So give me those guys. Give me whoever comes out of this Western Conference grind, which was clearly the better conference. Whoever survives that gauntlet, I think they're going to be so battle tested. And as long as they're healthy, I think that's who I'd like in the finals.
Natterville on our YouTube live chat says imposter syndrome when talking about Jason Tatum. And I understand it, but I also look at, man, this just almost feels like the stars have aligned in a way for the Celtics. You get the Heat without Jimmy Butler. You get the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell. You get the Pacers without Tyrese Halliburton. I mean, and
you avoid the 2 best teams in the East that aren't the Celtics.
Exactly. So if something happened to whoever advances from the West, then they lose their best player at some point in time before or during that series, it wouldn't shock me either, because that's just kind of been the luck of the Celtics this year.
Yep. Yeah, and good for them, and nobody will put an asterisk next to their title, and nor should they, but it's just sometimes things roll your way. Again, I'm just a believer that until I see it out of this group, I'm just going to continue to doubt them, because they don't have the makeup of a team that I'm backing to win a title. And I didn't know if the Mavs did coming into this either, but the Mavs have impressed me, man. They've impressed me quite a bit. They've showed me a lot. And Jason Kidd's starting to really earn my respect. I did not think he was a good coach when he was in Milwaukee. I was not impressed with what he was doing. But to take this team and turn it into what it's become, and to see what Kyrie, you talk about a guy who had a reputation, that seemed like it would never be fixed a year or two ago. To hear him after these losses, to see what he's doing on the court, to see him accept a leadership role in losses, and kind of take a back seat in victories, and give credit to other people. It's wild to see this transformation that Kyrie's gone through. And I think you have to give some credit to Jason Kidd and Dallas for believing in him. He's been a perfect fit with Luka, and I didn't really see it. It didn't feel like he had enough basketballs. and it's worked out perfectly. So the credit where it's due to this Mavericks team that has just done a lot more than I would have ever expected out of them. They've at least for me earned the benefit of the doubt as a team who can do something. Whereas the Celtics, I've just seen them. I've seen this story enough times where, oh, the Celtics, it's finally their time, and then they just don't get the job done in the end. So,
the bed.
yeah, I just I don't trust them, and give me the unknown of these Timberwolves or Mavericks versus what I do know about the Celtics, which is that they're kind of losers.
I love that you said trust them, because coming from Houston radio like you did and spending time there, I'm sure you've got a wealth of knowledge on the Houston Texans. And they extend Nico Collins yesterday after one good season. They give him a nice deal, which helps to, if he continues down that path after a couple of injury-riddled first years, would be a bargain moving forward after that, instead of letting him do that a second consecutive year and then have to face what Dallas is facing with CeeDee Lamb. And now that they have what we saw, Hank Dell, the additions that they made, Joe Mixon, Daniil Hunter, Danico Autry, the Texans are being touted by the media, especially, as a legitimate threat in the AFC. What are your thoughts on A, what Houston has done and turned into, and B, how viable do you expect them to be this year in their second year under CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans?
I mean, I think it's kind of two different stories, because one, what they've done is brilliant. I mean, they've got a coach in there that not only the fan base believes in, which it's been a long time since they had a coach that there was real faith in, and Bill O'Brien, for all his flaws as a Jew and really just kind of as a dude to be around your football team, was a really solid head coach. I mean, he did a good job with what he had. I would say he on the field, he probably exceeded expectations. He was just such a bad GM that no one wanted to give him any credit for anything positive that he did, and I think rightfully so. And then, of course, we had a couple clowns step in between there, and now it feels like they've really kind of got a guy who has Texans DNA, and is also not a total joke. So it's a really a home run for the organization. Obviously, I don't want to say they luck boxed into CJ Stroud, but if they don't win the last game of the season, they'll try to convince you that CJ Stroud was number one on their board all along. I don't know that I believe that. I mean, it seems like pretty much everybody was convinced that Bryce Young was the guy. I didn't think Bryce Young was the guy, but to be fair, I also didn't think CJ Stroud was going to be this either. But so far, I mean, CJ's been a rousing success. Now the question is, and this is, I generally believe this philosophy when it comes to rookie quarterbacks. If you have a fantastic rookie year, chances are good the league is going to adjust to you. And I would expect that CJ Stroud, there's some not to say that he's going to like turn into a pumpkin, but there's going to be some natural regression. Whereas if you're a highly touted quarterback who has a really awful rookie year, generally you adjust to the league a little bit. The league starts to slow down a little bit for you, and everybody kind of comes to the median. And I think CJ Stroud is probably due for a little regression. Not that they still can't be very good, even if he does regress. I think the thing working for the Texans' favor is that they're in the AFC South, where it doesn't look like there's anybody who is scary. Anthony Richardson is a giant question mark. The Titans are just loaded with question marks they've had the same identity forever, and now that's gone. The Titans fired a coach that I don't know that they could have had a better coach, and they fired him. It was a really weird offseason for Tennessee. Jacksonville still doesn't seem like ready to step up and take the mantle. They're almost like the Celtics. Trevor Lawrence might be Jason Tatum. Like, this dude's supposed to be really good, but when's it going to happen? So there is a viable path to the Texans being like the team in the AFC South, but does that move them in line ahead of Kansas City or Baltimore or Buffalo or Cincinnati? In my mind, the answer is no. I mean, I think that there's still a good ways to go before I feel comfortable saying they're better than those teams or even in the conversation with those teams. And the Texans they're not going to play a last place schedule again this year. The Texans schedule is significantly more difficult than it was a year ago. They've got a chance to really like prove themselves as a team that's going to be there for a while. But to me, they're still a little ways away from being an AFC contender. It's not like the NFC where you've got, you know, the 49ers, I guess, are the closest thing to a consistent team that you know is going to be contending solidly there every year. But the AFC has a handful of those. Like, you know, in Cincinnati's in such a beneficial spot right now, like, because they get a last place schedule this year. And the only reason they get a last place schedule this year is because Joe Burrow was out last year. And now Joe Burrow is going to be back, and they're going to be playing like, you know, a schedule that an awful team would be playing. They're not awful. If Deshaun Watson can become like half of what Deshaun Watson used to be, and I don't know that he can, but if he ever does, the Browns are terrifying. I mean, the Steelers are never going to be well below average. Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season as an NFL head coach. There's just so many teams in the AFC that feel like the Texans have to leapfrog them before I can really consider them a contender. That I think it's gonna take another year or two for them to get to that level. And again, I think this may be a year where CJ takes a little bit of a step back. I think the Nico Collins move and a lot of the moves that they've made are great. I think they're building in the right direction. Collins, it's a lucky thing that he was a third round pick because you get to pay him a little bit earlier. But then when you think about, man, now he's making more per year than DK Metcalf or Deebo Samuel, that feels weird to me. You know, so are you gonna pay him and pay Stephon Diggs? And are you going to, like, what's going to happen with Tank Dell? Like, because Tank Dell's, his money's going to come up now because he was also not a first round pick. So it kind of begs the question of how long they're going to be able to keep this together. Obviously, as long as you've got a rookie quarterback, like a rookie deal quarterback, you've got a chance to build a roster around him. And they're doing the right thing by doing that, saying, let's lock up everything around this dude and make this push. That way on CJ Stroud's rookie deal, we've got, 5 good swings at it to make something happen. And that to me, that's the best way to build an organization, is to find the right quarterback and throw everything you can into assets around it. And then you've got this 5-year window where you can maximize that before you have to pay CJ Stroud like he's a top 10 quarterback. Then it becomes very difficult to keep everything around him. Like we saw what happened in Seattle once Russell Wilson got paid. We saw what happened in Baltimore once Joe Flacco got paid. These were guys that weren't top 5 quarterbacks, but earned top 5 quarterback money. And then as you saw the teams crumble around them, the success waned. The only guys recently who have been able to overcome that are Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. And, unless you think CJ Stroud is Patrick Mahomes, which I don't, you've got about a 5-year window here. So I think it's smart of the Texans to throw everything that they can into it and try to make it happen. The problem is these teams after that 5 years, you're gonna pay CJ Stroud again, but then you think that CJ Stroud's good enough to now do it with an even lesser roster, which is kind of the situation teams like Buffalo and the LA Chargers are in, where they had a window that they had pretty talented rosters around really good quarterbacks, didn't get the job done, and now those windows look like they're closing because that talent is just kind of chipping away. And unless those dudes take a big step up and are able to carry something on their own, it's really hard to have a or to win a Super Bowl when your quarterback's not on his rookie deal anymore.
He is AJ Hoffman. You can catch him every morning with Rob Thompson on the Morning Huddle, 6 to 10. AJ, thanks for your time this evening.
Hey, anytime, brother. I'll talk to you next week.
Take it easy. AJ Hoffman joining us via the Buyers Barricades guest line. They provide traffic control, rental, and sales for San Antonio and beyond. They are online at buyersbarricades.com. Get the phone lines ready. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. If you'd like a chance to win an advanced screening at the Santinko's Casablanca for the new Star Wars Disney Plus, The Acolyte. It will be Monday, June the 3rd at 7 o'clock at the Santikos at Casablanca. This is a guest list item, reserved seats. If you'd like to go, be caller number 5 right now, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to go see The Acolyte before anybody else. Coming up next, we're going to put a bow on the show and get you ready for tonight as, well, lots going on in terms of hockey. You've got the Stars and Oilers and some big news in the golf world. We'll get into it. I can't wait to get into this. Scotty Scheffler and the, well, seeing as all the talk we've had about the police blotter, the Barney Fife situation, and what went on there. It's all coming up here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
94.1.
They do skip the ER and get to the OrthoNow Injury Clinic by TSAOG Orthopedics and Spine. OrthoNow provides walk-in care for injuries like broken bones, dislocations, sprains, and strains. Conveniently located in the Quarry area with extended hours Monday through Saturday with on-site x-ray casting and bracing, OrthoNow has everything you need to treat your injury, and best of all, no urgent care or emergency room copay. Learn more online at tsaog.com.
Introducing Lumi for Men, and we named him Mando. American-made, doctor-developed, clinically proven whole-body deodorant, built for men, built for hard work. I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman, the inventor of Mando whole-body deodorant for pits, packages, and feet, because we all know our pits aren't the only place we get odor. Mando whole-body deodorant is different from anything you've ever tried before. It stops odor before it starts, powered by our acidified technology. Mando controls odor anywhere you have it. My patented whole body deodorant formula has over 200,000 5-star reviews. And because Mando has a 60-day stink-free guarantee, you can try Mando risk-free.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 5050 and get an extra $5 off a Mando starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, 2 free products of your choice, and ships free with code 5050. Go to shopmando.com, code 5050 for an extra $5 off a Mando starter pack. That's shopmando.com, code 5050.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Endurance has paid hundreds of millions in claims. Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-290-6207. That's 800-290-6207. 800-290-6207.
Introducing Lumi for Men, and we named him Mando. I'm Dr. Shannon Klingman's brother, the inventor of Mando whole body deodorant for pits, packages, and feet. Because we all know our pits aren't the only places we get odor. Mando whole body deodorant is different from anything you've tried before. It stops odor before it starts, powered by our acidified technology. Mando controls odor anywhere you have it. Her patented whole body deodorant formula has over 200,000 five-star reviews. And because Mando has a 60-day stink-free guarantee, you can try Mando risk-free. Give Mando whole body deodorant a try today and smell like the stink-free man you were intended to be.
There's a special offer for listeners. Use code 555 and get an extra $5 off a Mando starter pack that comes with a solid stick, cream tube, 2 free products of your choice, and ships free with code 555. Go to shopmando.com, code 555, for an extra $5 off a Mando starter pack. That's shopmando.com, code 555.
Pork rinds pack a protein punch and are the boldest low-carb snacks out there. Skip the chip and try Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds for that ultimate crunch. And with flavors that will have you craving for more, the time to stock up on Southern Recipe at H-E-B is now. Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds. Be big, be bold, be adventurous.
Gomez Law Firm has been taking care of the 50 years, the leader in personal injury law. Jose, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
We do ride-sharing cases, 18-wheeler cases. Obviously, we've done those for very many years. Work injuries. We will be happy to take a look at and see if we can help.
If you have been injured in an accident or hit by a company vehicle, then you need to visit joegomezlaw.com.
We've been around for almost 50 years, and we're not going anywhere.
Call the Gomez Law Firm at 736-4040.
I'm AJ Hoffman from the Morning Huddle. Join me and Rob Thompson tomorrow morning at 6. Your early morning wake-up call on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
AJ Hoffman just joined me here on the Morning Huddle. Or not on the Morning Huddle, but on Extra Innings with Pletcher. He is the host of the Morning Huddle. Make sure to catch him 6 to 10 every weekday. Some comments coming in. Fred Records, looking forward to the hockey game tonight. Heck yeah. Playoff hockey is great, and the Dallas Stars, they have a heck of a team this year. Jacob Eric, in regards to when I asked AJ about the Houston Texans, and he's always expects a regression to the mean from quarterbacks that have big years their first year, or a progression to the mean if they have an awful year their first year. Jacob Eric says there's plenty of film on CJ, but not with all the weapons he has. That is true. He has a team that is stacked with talent. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. Howard wanted to call in and talk Spurs. And before we get to that, Howard, congratulations to our winner, Ronald. Ended up winning the movie passes to go see The Acolyte on Monday out at the Santikos Casablanca. But don't worry, I've got 2 pair of guest passes to go see it early, in advanced screening on Monday, June the 3rd, both tomorrow and Friday. So if you still want to get in on that advanced screening, stay tuned to Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star. Howard, what's going on, my man? You want to talk Spurs and what they do with 4-8?
Absolutely, Fletcher. I appreciate you, having your program and allowing the call-ins. You have a great show. I want to know your opinion. I really, really want to hear what you have to say about this. I believe the Spurs need to trade up to the number 2 spot or number 1 spot, whatever it is. I don't think Atlanta will give up the 1. I think they're going to take Sarr. I think we have to get Donovan Clingan at number 2.
UConn big man.
I believe he's the safest bet in the draft for somebody who's going to make a difference right away. He's got 2 championships. It was a disappointment last year. Pop never really played a point guard with a center next to Victor. I really don't understand why that never really happened. I think it happened for 15 minutes in 2 games late in the season where he had Trey Jones. I believe the 4 core need to stay together with Victor. I believe they're on the precipice of winning, but there's 2 moves that need to be made. And let me say the 4 core.
The 4 core, you're talking about Victor Wembanyama, Jeremy Sohan, Devin
No,
Vassell.
but I'm saying the 4 core and then Victor is the 5th. I'm saying Trey Jones, Sohan, Keldon Johnson, Vassell. I believe all of them are ready to win. I believe they really are ready to win. What needs to happen is take Klingon. He's automatically an incredibly difficult center for anybody to contend with at 7'2". We've got our Anthony Edwards in Victor Wembanyama. So in other words, we've got our superstar, and he happens to be a 4 and a 5 on defense, whatever you want to say. But we've got everything else but the point guard. Here's what I do on the point guard.
Okay.
You remember the guy whose hero is Manu Ginobili in the league? Do you remember the left-handed point guard who said the guy he learned from looking up was Manu Ginobili? We need to give that guy. He had one of the highest 3-point percentage rates after, I believe, number 1 after All-Star break. This guy is legit coming into his own big time. There's no doubt. D'Angelo Russell. We need to throw big money at him. With him and Klingon, I believe you really second round playoffs automatic. I want to know how you feel about that. So I'll take that off the air.
I appreciate it, Howard. Wow. I love Klingon. I wouldn't be mad if they took him at 4. At 8, if Castle or Topic happens to still be there, I wouldn't be mad at either of them. I'm split on D'Angelo Russell. I kind of like him, but I'm not in love with D'Angelo Russell. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it was from his first stint in LA when he left and did his own thing. Like, there's just something. A lot of people have pre-biases towards people, and I know he shot the ball extremely well. He was one of the reasons the Lakers really made the move they did in the postseason and I know they got washed away by Denver, but he was a big part of that Lakers team making the playoff push that it did. And I like him. I don't love him, and I think that they can do better at the point guard position. And maybe it's a previous narrative, and maybe like Kyrie, he's aged and matured since his early years in the league, whether with the Nets or Lakers. But because he did shoot it really well after the All-Star break from 3. And that's something that this team desperately needs is floor spacing and creators. You've at least piqued my curiosity with it, Howard. Initial thought is I don't want to throw a ton of money at him, but I wouldn't mind throwing some money at him. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. I am James Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. Scotty Scheffler breaking earlier today. The thing that was drug out way too long by that Kentucky Police Department. Charges were dropped. Scheffler not going to face any charges. But, man, it's just been a weird week and a half or so for golf in terms of at 29 years old, 15-time winner on the LPGA Tour, Lexi Thompson is retiring. She's going to make her 18th straight start at the U.S. Women's Open this year, but in her press conference, which got really emotional, she was quoted as saying, "We're doing what we love. We're trying to do the best every single day. We're not perfect. We're human. Words hurt, and it's hard to overcome sometimes." So that tells me there is a mental fatigue with things that are surrounding her online, and not everyone is wired the exact same way, and that's okay. And they don't have to be, but I think at least here on Extra Innings, I want to say let's try and make it a mission. Let's be kind to one another. We can disagree about things. We don't know what other people are going through from the outside. At the Charles Schwab this past weekend, Grayson Murray, a promising young 30-year-old golfer, pulls out of the tournament up in Fort Worth, dies the next day. He cited an illness is why he pulled out. We find out it was a suicide at the age of 30, and there are just questions left after that. And it's, I think, a small reminder that let's not try and get too over the top with things. It's a small world and we all share it. We can agree to disagree. We can just not agree with somebody on the principle of anything that they believe, but still respect them and say, all right, man, that's cool. I just don't agree with you. These are my reasons why, and move on. I like having my mind changed. I like being challenged. It's also a great reminder, check on your family, check on your friends, loved ones, colleagues, all of them. Make sure, shoot them a message, tell them I had a friend text me in the gym this morning, and it kind of brought this to mind. Used to work here, hadn't talked to him in a while, just shot me a message. Hey, hope you're doing okay. We caught up a little bit over text. Life is short. Enjoy it. Let's make it a blessing for people, not something that we are going to make a struggle for people, because we all have our own struggles that we go through in our own ways. I love all y'all. This has been Extra Innings with Pleasure. I'll catch y'all tomorrow night. Enjoy Stars Oilers tonight with no other NBA games for us to enjoy. We'll see you tomorrow.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.